Hey everyone, I'm Leslie. Welcome to my channel. This project I'm working on is 2 wooden risers. I cut these out myself in the garage on my bandsaw and gave them a good sanding. These little half spears that I'm using for feet, I got off of Amazon. I had a whole bag full of them. I used to make these risers quite a bit, and I sold a ton of them here locally. And I have a few left over, and I thought I might as well use them up. I'll be attaching those feet with Tight Bond, Quick and Thick, and hot glue. The dab of hot glue will help hold the little feet in place until the Tight Bond, Quick and Thick dries. Now that IOD mold I have sitting there, I was going to use that for the edge of the risers, but I changed my mind and I decided on using 2 different molds. Once I get the feet glued down on both risers, I'll set those aside and let them dry. Okay, once those are set aside, I'm going to be using the parts of the Felicity mold, and the other mold is one of the originals that I had ever bought when I first started using molds. I got it on Amazon. I believe it's a redesign. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dust my mold with cornstarch. It helps to release. And then I'm going to warm up some of my DOS air dry clay. And at this point, I'm not really sure which direction I'm going. All I know is I'm going to make a few molds and a couple of the swags on the other mold and just see what kind of pattern I can come up with. All right, once I get a few molds made, I know that in the very front, I want to have one of the larger rose clusters and 2 smaller ones, one on each side. And from there, I want to take a swag and put one on each side and then fit some more roses in the back. I played with it a little bit off camera, and that's what I came up with, and it fit perfect. Okay, at this point, I'm going to start gluing my castings down. And this one, the top of it, I just kind of bent the leaves down onto the top. And the bottom that was sticking past the edge, I just went ahead and took my knife and just kind of cut that flush with the bottom of the riser. All right, I wasn't going to make y'all sit and watch me glue all this around, but as you can see, I did have to use tape to hold them in place while they dry. I let these castings sit overnight, And I come back the next day and I'm going to paint them. I want to do each riser different. The first riser here I'm going to paint with my Rust-Oleum chalk paint in linen white. I'm going to go all around and give it one good coat. Once that one coat is dry, I'll go back and I'll give it a second coat. Once I got that first coat on, I used my heat gun to give it a quick little dry to help it along, and then I just set it aside while I start working on the second riser. This second riser, I want the bottom layer to be dark, so I'm using DIY clay-based paint in the color Layered Chocolate. I'm going to go all around and give it one good coat. I gave both risers enough time to dry really well. And now I'm going to be taking my Minwax polyacrylic water-based sealer and I'm going to give each riser one coat. The reason I'm sealing both pieces at this point is because the next layer, I don't want it to affect the bottom layer. The Layered Chocolate piece, I'm going to be putting milk paint over the top. And I want, once it crackles, I want the Layered Chocolate to be the color that is seen underneath it. And then the white riser, I will be using an antiquing glaze. And I want that to white back. I don't want it too dark. Now the color I'm going to be using in milk paint, this is Sweet Pickins and it's called Bluebird. This is an absolute gorgeous color. So all I'm going to need for this one little riser is just, I did one scoop and I wanted it a little bit thicker, so I didn't put quite a scoop of water, just a little bit under that. And I'm going to give it a good mix and set it aside. Once I get my milk paint mixed up, I'm going to set it aside and let it thicken up for about 10-15 minutes while I work on the white riser. On this riser, I'm going to take my sandpaper and I'm going to do just the edge down to the wood all around. I'm not going to do the molds. I'm not going to do the center. I just want the edges to go down to the wood because when I put my antique and glaze, I want it to soak into the wood and have just a little bit of distress. Now here I'm taking Paint Couture, the Luxe Metallic Paint in the color bronze, and I'm just going to dry brush across the castings. I want these beautiful molds to look like the gilding has just been worn off with time. I want it to look old world. Now I'm taking IOD paint and lay. I believe this is called the Floriography, and I picked one ahead of time and cut it out. And I'm going to be using my polyacrylic sealer as my base for the paint inlay. I'm going to give the whole top of the riser a good coat. And I'm going to lay my inlay down and take a little damp paper towel and I'm just going to kind of smooth it down, try to get some of the wrinkles and some of the bubbles out, which I don't care if it's perfect because I want this to look aged and worn. I spritzed it with a little bit of water and used my paper towel to dab off the excess. Now that my milk paint has thickened up, I'm going to go around this riser and give it a good coat. I'm giving it kind of a thick coat on there because I want this to look like it's just layers of old paint chipping up. I'll dry this first layer with my heat gun and give it a little bit of time to completely dry before I go on with the second coat. Once the second coat of milk paint was dry, I wanted it to have a little more crackle. So you can spritz it with water and hit it with the heat gun again, and it will help it crackle more. Now that my paint inlay is completely dry, I'm going to spritz it with water and let it sit for about 30 seconds or so. I'll dab the excess water off. And then I'm going to start peeling back. And as you can see, it looks great. I'm happy with the way it turned out. There are it didn't transfer completely, but that is the look that I want. I think it turned out great. So I'm going to give that a good dry. Be sure you set your inlay to the side, let it dry, because you can get a couple of more uses out of it. Now I'm going to take a brush and I'm just gently sealing in the inlay. Not to overwork it because you can smear it. Now I'm going to let that dry really well. I hope y'all don't mind that I'm going back and forth between two different projects, but each one has a different look. Now I'm going to be taking my Iron Orchid design. It's the Gilded Transfers from the book Etiquettes. I picked out a design that I want to go on top of the milk paint riser. I'm going to use my transfer stick that comes with it, and I'm going to get this in place. Next, I'm taking my Paint Couture Antique Glaze in the color of Van Dyke Brown, and I will be going over both risers with this same color, wiping on and then using a little bit of mist, a little bit of water, and paper towel and wet wipe to pull back as much as I want. If you pull back too much, you can always add to it. I think this piece turned out fantastic. It had just the right amount of chippiness. It looks like it's 100 years old, and that's what I wanted. Once I'm done with the antiquing, I'm going to be taking my rub and buff in the color Gold Leaf, and I'm just going to be taking my finger and I'm just going to go around, and I want it to skip and hit places all around the molds just to give it another color and brighten it up a little bit. Once I'm done with this project will be complete. These are so much fun to do, and the possibilities are endless. You can use them for candle holders. You can use them in the kitchen with a plant. You can put them anywhere. You can put them in your bathroom with soaps. I love using these little risers all around my home. Just a reminder, now I have my eBay seller page back up and running. These will be available on the website. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Help my channel grow. I appreciate it very much. Thank you, everyone. I hope you're all having a wonderful weekend.